If you're hunting for a watch that won't feel like a gadget you have to babysit, that actually survives the chaos of a day on the trail and still looks decent at the office, you're probably weighing a lot of hype against real life. Most people I've talked to say the biggest fear is ending up with a flashy piece that looks great on the shelf, but turns into a distraction when they actually need it to work. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. And I spent the last week swapping the Fenix 8 Pro into a mix of weekend hikes, long-haul flights, and a full day of back-to-back meetings to see if it lives up to the promise. First off, the thing that separates the Fenix 8 Pro from a lot of other premium smartwatches is the way it blends serious navigation tools with the convenience of an everyday wrist companion. The built-in inReach satellite messaging is something you usually only find on dedicated rescue devices, but here it's tucked behind a button that feels natural enough that you don't accidentally ping a satellite when you're scrolling through your calendar. I tested it on a 3-day backcountry trek where cell service vanished after the first ridge. Sending a single, "I'm okay" message cost a few minutes of interaction, but the peace of mind it gave was worth the extra step. For anyone who spends time in remote areas, whether it's a mountain biker, a hunter, or a field researcher, that feature alone can tip the scales. If you're a gym regular who mainly wants heart rate zones and a few route stats, the Fenix might feel a bit over-engineered. The watch runs an AMOLED screen that's gorgeous, but it also draws more power than a standard LCD. That's why the bundle includes the Signature Series Power Bundle, a set of extra charging accessories that make topping up on a long ride less painful. In my daily commute, I was able to push the battery past 48 hours with moderate use. But after a full day of GPS navigation, heart rate monitoring, and a couple of inReach messages, the charge dipped to about 40% by bedtime. If you're okay with charging every night, it's not a deal breaker, but it's a hidden trade-off that people often overlook when they only see the up to 2 weeks claim in marketing. The watch stand that comes with the package might look like a simple piece of plastic, but it solves a surprisingly common annoyance: finding a stable place to dock the watch on a cluttered desk. The stand's magnetic base holds the watch firmly, keeping the AMOLED screen visible for quick glance checks without having to lift your wrist. I found myself using it on my nightstand to glance at the sunrise weather forecast while the watch was charging. It's a tiny convenience that adds a layer of polish to the whole experience, especially if you're the type who likes to keep the device out of the way when you're not wearing it. Now, let's talk about who should actually buy this. If you're an avid multi-sport athlete, think trail running, kayaking, ski touring, and you need reliable navigation, off-grid communication, and detailed health metrics all in one wrist, the Fenix 8 Pro hits the sweet spot. The combination of top-tier GPS accuracy, a robust set of sport profiles, and the satellite messaging makes it a practical tool rather than a novelty. People who have complained about their older watches losing a signal on dense canopy will appreciate the dual-frequency GPS that the Fenix employs. In my own tests, the watch locked onto a satellite within seconds, even under heavy tree cover, and the route tracking stayed precise enough that I could replay my path later without noticing any major drift. On the flip side, if you're mainly looking for a smartwatch to check texts, control music, and get a few step counts, the price point of the Fenix 8 Pro is hard to justify. You could get a comparable screen, decent health tracking, and a battery life that comfortably lasts a week for a fraction of the cost. The extra gear like the inReach module and the power bundle adds value only when you actually need them. For city dwellers who never wander beyond Wi-Fi range, that satellite capability sits idle, and the larger 47mm case can feel bulky under a suit jacket. Skipping this model in favor of a slimmer, more affordable alternative makes sense if your lifestyle doesn't demand the rugged extras. One practical weakness that became evident during a week of mixed use is the learning curve around the inReach messaging. The interface is intentionally terse to keep the watch's footprint small, but that means you have to memorize a few button sequences before you can send a quick SOS or a simple check-in. I found myself fumbling a bit the first couple of times, especially when my hands were sweaty after a climb. It's not a deal breaker, but it does add a small friction point that casual users might find annoying. Another nuance is the watch's interaction with third-party apps. The Garmin ecosystem is solid, but it can feel